Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday with Fran. I am one host, Fran, and I am one host, Fran. Yeah, so see, we did weird things. Watch this. I'm gonna flip us around.
How'd you do that?
Oh, because I am talented.
You are.
I am. See,
oh wait, I'm gonna do something else in a second.
Swap this back.
Don't touch.
Okay,
oh, I gotta fix it.
I'm not touching.
Fix it. Go ahead.
Touchy.
You're
no
touchy.
Okay, so I am one host, Shelly. I don't know which way it points on my screen. If I point to you this way, I don't know if it's actually pointing to you. And she's the other host, Fran. And I apologize that we are late. It is 100% my fault. I have been in meeting after meeting after meeting this morning, until this afternoon, and my last one ran a little bit late. So thank you for joining us. If you were joining us live, if you're watching this in the replay, you can just ignore what I said because it doesn't apply to you because you watch it when you want to watch it. So, all right. So,
okay,
Fran.
There.
Oh, look at you.
Did I do it?
Banner at the bottom. You did. Very cool. So, Fran, for anybody who doesn't know, I was able to give her access last week, right before we went live, to a lot of the sort of behind the scenes things or the back office things, whatever you want to call them. And so she's still playing and still learning.
I'm one
Hey, that's me.
That's you.
So welcome, Fran. How have you been this week?
Yeah, I have. It's been a lot of health things going on, so a lot of time spent with medical type people.
Okay.
But it's all good, God's good. He has a plan, and I'm just along for the ride. I just want to be in his will. So.
All right. Amen to that.
And I built a fire pit in the yard today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, because you can't just sit and relax. You're always doing something.
Yeah, I had someone tell me that. Tomorrow, literally, they said, "You don't know how not to fill the time."
Yeah.
I went, but it made sense to do what I did because I was already partway there. And yes, it makes sense, but you don't always have to fill the time.
That is true. You do not.
So
Jesus slept and wept and rested and other short E sound words. So I didn't mean to do that, but and so yes, we are called to rest actually one full day a week. And do you know that
I do that one?
Huh? You do that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that's good. But I was in a study one time and they said that that God put that in there because if he didn't tell us to rest, we may not rest.
Yeah.
So So last time we met, you had been in a fender bender before coming on the show. How did that turn out? Did you have is the van repaired? Do your no?
No, it's ongoing at the moment.
Okay.
It's just ongoing.
But it can be repaired?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's good.
So, yeah. And I needed to pick up a couple of things. And we were laughing because my sister doesn't want to drive it because she's like, it's kind of like a magnet right now for destruction. So I don't want to be responsible for that.
I understand. I totally understand.
But it's okay. Let me think. Yeah. But you know what, though? I have... I needed to get a medication out of my system because I was having adverse effects to it. And I think it's finally out of my system because I feel less foggy-ish and less... the adverse effects are gone now. But now I'm very... all over the place, chipmunky. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I am. My sister goes, "You're kind of like a toddler." Then she goes, "No. You are like a dog that's going on a walk and it sees a squirrel and it takes off after squirrel because it goes squirrel." And I said, "No, I see chipmunks. I've told you that prior." And she goes, "Yeah, but your chipmunks were under control. They are no longer under control." She told me that just a bit ago. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well,
so I'm just warning you.
okay. Well, life might be more fun with uncontrolled chipmunks. Who knows?
I get a lot accomplished that way, but the people around me tend to get frustrated. I've discovered. I'm learning that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But so, do you want to tackle what the banner says?
IEP meetings that seem like Goliath. So, I can speak to that and how that applies to teachers. I'll speak to it from that side, and you speak to it from the parent side.
What about speaking to it from as a consultant side as well?
I can do that as well.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm yeah, I probably my consultant side and my teaching side run sort of parallel to each other.
I would not think they would. I would think they would run maybe mismatched amongst the parent / the educator side. Like a mixture.
Well,
I would have thought that, but okay.
I guess it depends on who I'm preparing.
For whom you're preparing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So go ahead and speak from the parent side first.
Oh, I was hoping you would start.
Okay, I can start, but this was your topic, so I thought you might have stuff ready to go.
Well, I don't have a lot because I was outside building a fire pit. And then I had to restart my computer. And then I was my camera, because my camera wasn't working. And then once my camera was working, my audio wasn't working. So
then you really did sound like a chipmunk.
Yes, I did. So this binder, I don't know if you can see how thick it is. Mm-hmm. It's not. This is just probably this many packets of information I have, and for my daughter, and I don't have a lot of evaluations and things in it. Mm-hmm. So that's all I have, and then I just got sent home this packet. But I'm awaiting. She has an IEP coming. Mm-hmm. Like we have church day, and then we have her IEP.
Right. Sorry, I'm just looking for
your binder.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's why I was giving you the heads up. Do you want to go get it?
No, actually, because I was looking for it the other day and it wasn't in the other spot where I thought it was supposed to be. Oh. And so I thought, I moved it over to the new spot. And now I've just looked in the new spot and it's not here either. So I'm not sure where it might be at this moment.
Oh, okay. Well, so because I was hoping you would speak about that binder at some point in this time.
All right, I'll go look for it, but I'm going to take myself out.
Just mute yourself. No, keep yourself on.
Well,
I don't want to be at the full screen. Then I feel like really wide.
I don't know if I can just mute my camera.
Stop camera on the bottom.
Yeah, no, that will completely take me out.
No, down on the very bottom where you hit stop cam.
Yeah.
There you go.
I know. Oh, okay.
Oh, or stop microphone. You could have left your camera up and we could have had your background. I don't care.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Well,
but hopefully if you muted you, then you could make noise but still hear us if you wanted. Or that way you can still talk while you go on an adventure.
Yeah, I'm going to go on an adventure, but I wanted to be able to hear you and possibly talk to you from where I am going to be. So
okay, all right. So I have this within my binder here, or my folder. It's not a binder. I have A, B, C. I have D IEPs.
Okay.
And I have her medication lists.
I found it already.
Oh, see? I have her medication lists and job site evaluations, attendance records, my guardianship papers, and assorted other things.
So what I'm hearing you say is that you're not just at the last minute preparing to go to the meeting. You are prepping ahead of time and organizing your, not just your thoughts, but also all the things that you might need to refer to, or you might need to have for documentation purposes, ready to go in order to present whatever or access quickly at the meeting.
Yes, because I have discovered when I enter that meeting, my brain empties.
Mhm.
And everything that I wanted to say or I wanted to emphasize or make sure we covered or was within just disappears. So I have discovered that not only do I need to be prepared and make a list of things, I often, okay, yes, I do. I do email them to those that are going to be in attendance, that these are things I desire to be covered, whether in by someone there at the meeting. Also, is to have somebody there with me. I need
Yes.
an extra set of eyes, ears, and also I need someone that can kick me under the table if I get off track with my chipmunk, or if I allow my emotions to override my logical thought process. Because
And that happens because it's
sometimes
an
there is a
emotional
place,
meeting.
sometimes there is a place for emotions, and sometimes there isn't. And it's how you handle those emotions. So having another person, whether it's the other parent or a friend, a guardian, or like you as a consultant and coach, having that, it is, and you're allowed to.
Mhm.
Don't let anyone tell you you can't.
Yep, you're right.
So, and like specifically for this one that we have coming up, we have requested, and it didn't happen. Now that I think on it. Oh wait, we still have time. It's not this one; it's the following one. But
Okay.
anyway, we have requested the IEP.
Right.
So
You've requested the IEP. What do you mean?
the draft, the
Oh, you're not even, you shouldn't have to request the draft in Illinois. It's mandated that they're supposed to get it to you at least 3 school days prior to the meeting.
Well, it has never happened that way. So
Well,
we've specifically put it in though this time in email. And also for me, I found that it's very important not just to have phone calls.
Mhm.
Even if I have a phone call, I'll shoot off an email saying, "Hey, so this is what I heard, and this is what this is what I think I'm doing, and what you're doing. Will you please let me know if I'm correct?"
Wow, have you had someone help you through these things before? Because you sound like saying all the things that I tell my clients to do. Have you been listening to Friday with Fran?
Occasionally, yeah. I don't know why, but yeah.
You mean we don't just actually speak, you actually hear what we say sometimes?
Yeah, I do listen. I may have chipmunk and I may appear that I'm going in a gazillion directions, but I do listen.
Oh, that's good. Yes, because everything that you are saying are things that I encourage my clients to do. Now, sometimes I don't become involved with them early enough to go through some of the things that you talked about, but it is something that I highly encourage in Illinois. But if you're watching in other states, many states have it already that within a certain number of days prior to the meeting, you are you are mandated to get the IEP. In the states where that doesn't happen, you can write a request and ask for that draft IEP, and they are supposed to give it to you. One of the things that I don't think I heard you mention, Fran, and you may have said it, is asking for the data and at all the paperwork that the rest of the team has, that is helping them with their decision making. So, for example, if you are doing the C-year review, the 3-year review, there is in a lot of instances, the new testing. the new assessments. So you can ask for that data. You can also ask for if this is a review, I mean, whether it's an annual review or the 3-year one, you can ask for all of the things that they have said are the ways they're going to track whether or not the child is successful with a goal. So if it's an observation log, and side note, always say log, don't just allow for observations, and I'll come back to that. If it's checklists, if it's tests, homework assignments, that sort of stuff. If it's tally sheets, if it's trying to think, I mean, whatever it is within the goal, they have to tell you how they're going to measure it. That's from the federal law. I'm not a lawyer, but that's what it says. So whatever they have said is the way they are going to keep track. You should have that data so that you can look at it, so that you have the same information. You might not come up with the same viewpoint, but at least you will have the same information as everyone else on the IEP team.
Well, because I'm not going to have that data, apparently. I'm just going to have the evaluation report and the draft documents will be sent by the end of school day on Monday is what the email says.
Okay. Well, between now and then, I mean, like as soon as we wrap up here, you can send an email and ask for the data that goes along with that information. And one of the key things you said that is extremely important is if it is not written down, it did not happen. You didn't say it that way, but so you said even if you have a phone call, you're sure to follow that up with an email saying this is what your thoughts were. And that is so important for a couple of different reasons, because everyone has good intentions, but not everybody has perfect follow through. So when you talk to someone in person or you talk to someone on the phone, they may have 100%, or they likely have 100% intention of doing whatever you talked about with them. And this includes yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get off the phone or you walk away from that conversation and life happens and you forget to do what you said you were going to do, or you forget exactly how you said you were going to do it. So sending that follow-up email gives both parties the chance to really be on the same page with, yes, this is what I walked away from that conversation thinking, and this is how you walked away from it. And, let's make sure that this is the same as the other person. And then it does give a record, if need be, that you are trying to be cooperative with the school, or if educators are watching, that you as an educator are trying to be cooperative with the parents. And if, heaven forbid, you would have to go to due process or beyond, that you would have that documentation to show I'm trying to be helpful, I'm trying to cooperate, I'm trying to collaborate. And those are the two biggest reasons. There might be more, but those are the two best and biggest reasons that I know of to have that follow-up written communication.
Okie doke. That was very good. Well, it was. I like that how you put it into a succinct little, and why. Not just you need to do this, but why you need to do it. Because then you tend to remember it rather than, okay, here's a list of the things you need to do.
Yeah. And I'm all about the why. Because I truly believe that if people know the why, then there's more buy-in, and it does tend to get remembered a little bit better.
All right. So your binder.
Okay. So this is not for me as a teacher. This is what I recommend. And it's a 3-ring binder, but it's almost B inches thick. But what it basically does is it just sort of outlines everything that Fran just talked about that she has in her folders. She just doesn't have them in a binder. And it's one of the things, and I'm not sure you mentioned this, is having a contact list. So especially if this is your first time ever going to an IEP meeting and potentially becoming involved with the special education process, it's a good idea to have a contact list, because you don't need to only contact one person. For example, if it's a transportation issue, you don't necessarily want to contact the special education teacher. You probably want to talk to someone in the office or potentially the transportation director. But taking that contact list to the meeting and finding out that information, okay, if I have a question about this, who do I go to? Maybe in that district it is you start with the special ed teacher and then it goes up a chain. But that way okay, who am I going to contact for transportation? Who am I going to contact for homework? And you might have you might have this many different people to contact, because there might be a special ed teacher, there might be 3 gen ed teachers, there might be, whatever the combination is. So knowing who to contact for what classes, who do I contact if I have an attendance, if my child can't be there? Let's see, who else do I have on this list? Who do I contact about after school programs or behavior issues, or if I have evaluations? Those might all be the same first person, but they also might all be somebody different. So knowing that, and then also, what's the best way to communicate with that person? Do they like email? Do they like text messages? Do they like phone calls? The best way to communicate with them is what their preferred way is. If it happens to be in person or phone call, then do that first and then follow up with that email of, hey, this is what we talked about. Also, I ask for people to have just a list of strengths and weaknesses, so that it's just right there, just kind of like the sample present levels of performance. And then we get into the different times that you've communicated with the schools. Did you have an email? If you have the email printed out, stick it in here. If you didn't have an email and you followed it up with an email, jot a note on top of the email of, this was a follow-up from phone conversation or in-person conversation. Or better yet, if that's in the email, then it's succinct and right there. And then, all the IEP information, the goals, the accommodations, and you can have those tabbed out in different tabs so it's easier to find, but you don't have to do it that way. You can have the whole IEP stuck together and have everything in there. And it's also a good idea to have at least B number of IEPs prior to the one that you're working on, especially if it's an annual review, so that you truly can say, oh, last year at this time.
You want to say that for whom, however, how many is that for, like, everybody else?
2. B is 2 years. Yeah. So I thought I held up my fingers. Maybe I didn't.
You did, but I didn't know if, like, someone wasn't watching and saw your fingers, didn't see your fingers, they might be going, what does B mean?
Oh, gotcha.
So I was just.
And in case I ever do turn these into podcasts where they're not seeing us, they're just hearing us, that's good point, that I need to say things, not just show them. So that way you can refer back to and see how much progress has been made, and make sure that you're not being redundant with goals. A lot of times we're redundant with the goal, but maybe the measure of success is higher, or if it's a behavioral goal, the number of times that they're exhibiting the goal is actually less, not more, hopefully, if it's a negative behavior or an unwanted behavior. So that way you can refer back to those things and make sure that you really are, especially on the educator side, writing goals that are appropriate, but on the parent side, seeing that progress and making sure that all that's correct. Any report cards, progress reports, your progress reports need to have the data that comes with determining the progress. Those are good to have in your binder or in your folder like you had, Fran.
Well, I mean, I have a folder in my file cabinets. It's about this thick.
Yeah.
That has all the rest, but I don't want to carry all that. So I
Well, and that's why I recommend having this binder, because it's thick and you can take the most recent information and have it all accessible to you, but not carry your whole, because I'm sure you may have one that's that thick, but you probably have a whole file of all these years probably that goes on and on. And the IEPs, if you're fairly confident that things have been progressing truly, you could probably get rid of, if they're in high school, you can probably get rid of them if they had them in primary school. I would still hold on to the middle school and high school ones. But if you haven't been confident all the way through, I would most definitely hold on to them, just so that you can look back and see, okay, yeah, they were making progress, or no, they're not making progress. And here's the documentation to show why. Now, as far as the law is concerned, and again, not a lawyer, so not guaranteeing this, but I think it's either 2 or 3 B or C years after something has occurred that you are allowed to have request for compensatory education or file any kind of claim against the school.
Mm-hmm.
So for that purpose, it's only those, like I said, 2 or 3 years, B or C years, but just to be able to see how much progress, where your child started and where they are now. If you don't have the room though, get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
That is my phone. Hold on.
Okay.
You just keep talking. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay. So that you can get this. I have the whole IEP binder kit, and you can email me and ask me to send the kit to you. I don't send you the binder, of course. I don't send you all the forms to go into it. But what I do send you is a lot of the so I'll send you, like, this is kind of the outline of everything that goes in it. And then I send you some sample forms. So here's one of my sample forms. This sample form is just the general information about your child and their strengths and their areas that need to be strengthened. And then I have an article that I include. I think I include it. Maybe I just included it in my own personal one, but of just kind of the things and why you would want to have them in there. But yeah, I think you might be able to see how that's kind of all broken down into, who to contact. I have the different tabs. Work samples are always a nice thing to have in there. The assessments, if you've ever had to write checks to the school for anything. So you can always say, oh yeah, I paid that school fee, or I paid that calculator off, or lost book, or whatever it is. So you are certainly welcome to have that. It doesn't, I believe I am offering it free right now. I'm just going to say that, whether it's free or not on the website. I think
will you drop it in your in the comments, or how are you going to do that?
Well, I told them to email me,
okay.
Okay. But
Drop
I'll put
your
my
email
email
in there.
address. Yeah. Oops. Well, if I could spell my name, that would work, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Sorry, the phone distracted me, so I missed you saying that.
Oh no, that's fine. So, so that's how I encourage, from a consultant's perspective, that's how I encourage my parents to, and that's not just preparing for the meeting. That's a nice way of keeping everything organized and in one place too. And that way, if there is ever an emergency IEP meeting, which I can't imagine it would be such an emergency that you wouldn't be able to have, a couple of hours at least, but I don't know, maybe it would happen. But then you've got it in one place and you can just grab that binder, like you grab your folder and off you go. Because I know you keep that folder updated and you keep it kind of at the ready, so to speak.
Yeah. I do. Sorry, I have. Do you remember it's really kind of funny. You asked me about the car.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden my phone is blowing up because the car has become like, so anyway, that was all occurring. So it's like, okay, let me just turn my phone upside down and just walk away from it.
Well, if you need to take it, I can talk about from the teacher's perspective. I wanted to give you a chance to talk.
No. So, well, I was just going to talk a little bit. Okay. So we've talked about the folder. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I was it's feeling kind of Goliathy to this time. Because some of the IEPs I go into, and it just feels like I'm going in to chat with some friends, and we're gonna game plan, and we're gonna roll.
Mhm.
And I don't feel like there'll be, but I know this is my daughter's final IEP,
Mhm.
and what occurs here will affect her future.
Right.
Greatly. So part of the pressure's my own self-induced pressure. It's not from the school. And then
Right.
part of it is I'm wanting to make sure I have all my ducks in a row. And right now my ducks aren't even in the same pond, let alone in a row. And so I'm trying to, and some might have flown away. They might have like got their wings and their
Right.
flight wings or whatever, and they've gone south already. So I'm not really sure if I need those ducks that flew away, if I need to go chasing them. So it's a matter of I don't feel like I have enough stones in my pouch to aim at Goliath. It's so I'm trying. I'm having to slow myself down and think, okay, what what is the most important thing about this meeting? What am I hoping for my daughter? How can I advocate best for her? That's kind of where I am.
Mhm.
I brought it all down into that statement.
Yep.
And that's when I was
that's
like, oh
very
my
good.
gosh, it looks really like Goliath right now.
Well, let me first of all put your mind at ease a little bit. I know this won't totally put your mind at ease.
No.
Even though, well, all right then. Hey, you're honest. That's one of the reasons I love you.
I don't have a filter anymore. Today, especially. Sorry.
Until your daughter is finished with this school year, there is still time. So even if at this meeting you forget something or you afterwards come up and go, oh, I didn't think about asking this. And now, now I know about it and I want to ask about it. You have that option until the last day of this school year for her.
Which, because of a new law,
right,
in Illinois,
right,
the last day is the last day of everyone's school.
Yeah.
Rather
exactly.
than, otherwise it would be the last day would be really soon.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, you have instead of maybe this many weeks, you actually have like this many times around the calendar. So you don't have to worry if you don't get all the questions answered or even asked at this question. It's not your last opportunity. And you may not even have to call a full IEP meeting if you have other questions between now and that last day of school. But I imagine that it is feeling pretty daunting because it is a lot resting in your lap.
Yeah. Because I not only have this, I had to send off a bunch of paperwork because, she doesn't have the extended education following this school year.
Right.
And then there's a list that she's supposed to have been on, and I've dropped the ball. And I needed this paperwork to get that list going.
Yeah.
Get her back on the list. So
yeah, that's one of the bad things I am not happy with in our state is they don't make it known well enough, in my opinion, that people need to be on those lists in order to get even in the door for some services and organizations. Not that they're going to get the services from the people who make that list, but they'll get access to things because they're on that list.
Yeah.
And our state does a poor job of letting people know that.
And then on top of it, the problem is, and this is something I've been struggling for quite a while. There's like home-based services, and then there's door services. And if you get this, you can't get this. And it knocks you out of everything over here. And I've had people say, no, it doesn't. But I also have real life experiences that it does. Right. So, but I did find a Facebook group that has a pretty good grasp on this. But it's still overwhelming, that information. I've sat and gone through it. I've gone to webinars. I've listened to podcasts, and I wish this state would make it a little more easy to decipher services. But the problem is they're funded differently.
Right.
And so they don't even speak with each other, the services that fund from here to here. So, but anyway.
Yeah. Can I ask you a favor?
What?
Okay. Your answer is going to be memorialized forever because it's going to be right here. Can I come with you to this meeting? Just not necessarily as an as my advocate role, but because I've never experienced this type of meeting.
Sure.
Would you allow me to come and
yeah. So I should probably let them know.
Well, you don't have to, but you could.
Well, don't you have to let them know that you're bringing B people?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, if they're watching, they'll know, but that's okay.
I doubt that they're watching, but they might be. But no, as a parent, it's a courtesy for you to let the school know that you're bringing A people, C people, or 0 people. The school, on the other hand, has to let you know anyone that is invited to come to the meeting from their invitation from the school.
And then we went over that because what they sent me didn't have names on it, but that just meant that way that they could just put whomever there.
Right. Yeah. So if they write in general ed teacher or special ed teacher instead of putting Fran Smith or Shelley Keno, that gives them leeway in case Fran Smith doesn't show up or Shelley Keno doesn't show up. Because if they put those specific names in there and you or I wouldn't show up under those roles, then there's paperwork they have to do and it's a pain. And but yeah, I mean, I would greatly appreciate and be honored if you would let me attend with you because, and hopefully now that I'm asking, I have time in my schedule. Because I don't remember the date you told me this was going to be. So
I'll show you at some point.
Okay. But yeah,
so,
because that will give me another perspective that I don't have right now. Because all of the students that I ever taught, they left and went to high school. I've never had a meeting where it's that sort of final meeting. Doesn't have to be, but I understand that's
sort of final. I like how you said that.
Yeah.
Sort of final.
I mean, it's this one is designed to be the final one, but you still have that option if something happens that it's not. So, cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So,
do you want me to talk about it now from the teacher's perspective?
Sure. Certainly.
Okay. So when you first sent this to me and I saw the idea, I was thinking, yes, most definitely from the parent's perspective, I imagine that it feels like this often. And I was thinking of the prep work from the teacher's perspective.
Okay.
Because as we mentioned, sometimes students have multiple general education teachers. And so for the special education teacher, working with those teachers all year round and trying to get the information from those teachers isn't always easy. Some people try to do it just, paper and pencil still. Some people try to do it where they have forms that the people can fill out and collect their data, or they put forms like Google Forms or something like that, where the teachers can go in and type notes to each other or whatever. But a lot of teachers don't have that collaboration.
So, and also I wanted to mention, as you're saying that, not only do they have multiple gen ed, but what about the teachers that, let's say they're vision or hearing teachers, and they have your speech and your occupational and all of that as well?
Yeah. So you could also have, all of your related therapists. Now, for me, not related therapists, related services is what I meant to say. For me, whenever I had those therapists coming in, they would write their own sections of the IEP, and then we would just combine everything together at the meeting. But not everybody has that choice either. A lot of people have to gather that information ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And especially now with draft copies, they're really supposed to be doing that. The draft copies didn't really manifest until I stopped teaching here in Illinois. So I never really had to do that legwork, but that is something that is on the plate of the special education teacher. And then in an average IEP, you have not this many, but this many, and then this many. At a minimum, that's how many pages are in an IEP.
Do you want to say that number?
That's 15. Thank you. And that's if you're doing multiple students on a day's worth of meetings, that's a lot of gathering of paperwork and of data, and filling in the papers and writing up the papers and printing off copies, and having the time to talk to the teachers about the student and what's been going on. And oh, by the way, you're supposed to be teaching while you're doing all of that gathering of paper, and you're supposed to be grading, and you're supposed to be lesson planning, and you're supposed to be doing all the other things that you do as a teacher. And when I've been in some special ed teacher groups on Facebook, and the teachers are exhausted. I kind of always thought it was just my district because I was only one special ed teacher in most of the districts where I worked, or there might have been one other special ed teacher in the district, but that was it. And we would have, kindergarten through 8th grade. Mm-hmm. And so I just thought, it's probably just a small school thing that we have to do so much work. No, because this group that I'm in, there's over 50,000 special education teachers. And if one person asks, how many hours do you spend after school, or do you get prep days to prepare for annual reviews? They get hundreds of responses. Nope, nope, nope. We don't have anything like that. And then maybe 1 or 2 responses, A or B responses. Yeah, we get time off. We get, prep days or whatever you want to call them. And so it's not as emotional from the teacher's perspective as
it's mental, though.
It is mental. Yes. And so it is still daunting. And, for a lot of people, especially newer teachers, it's very scary because they have to lead these meetings, and most teachers don't have training in how to do that.
So the teachers lead the meetings? Because most of the ones in which I've been, we had either had a special ed coordinator leading the meeting or the school psychologist.
It probably depends on the district and what type of meeting it is. In most of my meetings, unless it was an initial evaluation or one of those 3-year or C-year evaluation triennial ones, the annual reviews, I led those.
Because I've never had a teacher lead a meeting.
Really?
Uh-huh.
That's interesting. Well,
and I know that's with both of my kiddos.
Well, and see, you came from a slightly bigger district than where I've taught. And so I've never had a coordinator or a director. It was,
Okay.
you are the person in the building, you have to do this.
Okay.
Now, we would bring in school psychologists, or I shouldn't say bring in, they were contracted with our school district in order to come in and do those year initial evals and 3-year re-evals and any other kind of evals that were necessary. And the therapists, those were all contracted.
So did you
as
have
well.
did you have to get like all the different services on board at the same time to be there? And what if they all wanted to have different what if this person had the same goal as the goal you were having? How did you handle that? I mean,
I in the district where I worked the longest, and it's hard to say about the other 2 districts where I worked because I only was at each of those for one school year, a school year. But at the one where I was the longest, I had developed rapport. And so, we kind of knew ahead of time, which is why the whole getting a draft IEP thing came to be allowed, because everybody realized you weren't just sitting down at that IEP meeting and talking for the first time. There is talking that happens ahead of time. And so I would talk with them and say, well, what kinds of things are you going to work on? And what kinds of things am I going to work on? And with my kiddos, I incorporated a lot of movement and speech things into my day so that I was reinforcing whatever their therapists had been working on with them when they had their therapy. So several of my students got to the point where they were released from those related services because of what I was able to do with them every day. But that I had an unusual situation and setup. Not everybody can do that. But yes, it was up to me to call the therapists and the related service personnel, the school psychologist, the parent, and check with the gen ed teacher to make sure they didn't have field trips or planned time off, and then schedule the meetings and then get all the information. And then like sending out all the notifications for the meetings, those came from me in all my districts. Where I know in bigger districts, there's like a central scheduler that does that. Because I'm finding that with so many of the clients that I work with, that we get forms and it's not even anybody who's attending the meeting that's written this form because of the scheduling part. So there's nothing to my knowledge in the law that says anything about who has to schedule or who has to lead the meeting. And to be really honest, it probably should be the parent leading the meeting. There are some parents that I know that absolutely say they should be in all situations leading the meeting. And I don't know if I'm 100% about that, but
I think that they should, I don't know about leading the meeting, but I think there should be like an agenda almost.
And you can certainly ask for one. Sometimes I think when school districts are asked for agendas, they make the mistake, and this isn't actually sometimes I've seen this happen. They make the mistake of saying, okay, well, here's the order, and then we're going to put times behind each of these things. And if they would just say, here's the order that we're going to go through, I'm 100% on board with that. But when you put that time limit or that time frame, then that adds pressure to each person to try to stay within that time frame. And then that adds pressure to any discussions that could occur when something comes up that somebody needs to discuss.
And then, so let's address that. Let's say you're having your IEP meeting, mm-hmm. and there is a time limit, and because everyone starts looking at
yeah, especially if you get one at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, or that the parent's sitting there because someone will knock on the door and say the following IEP is here now.
Right.
And there's a purpose for that.
Right.
Because they don't have to do that, because that's actually, invading a meeting. You wouldn't do that any other time. So, what I know what to do. Do you want to share what to do? If
No, you
the
go ahead.
meeting's not at an end point,
No, you go ahead.
I just say, okay, well, since there's a time limit on this meeting, I would like to continue it to another time.
Mhm.
And we will not finish now, nor will we sign anything now. And that's what I do.
Yep. And you are absolutely within your right to do that. A lot of times school districts, oh, well, we just have, this little bit to go. We can get this wrapped up. And they try to push it through. And if that is not what you are comfortable with, say, no, I want to honor the next person's meeting time. So.
And also, that has happened. They've done that. And I'm like, okay. And then I don't get the IEP from that meeting, because I always review it before I leave.
Right.
I literally look through it for the changes. I don't look through everything, but if there are specific changes that we made, because this was prior to draft IEPs, I specifically say.
Sorry, I just saw what my phone just popped up what time it was, and I thought we were over our hour, but I forgot we started late. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I specifically say to them, hey, this is missing, because this many of my daughter's recent ones, this one, whoops, can't use that finger. This one here, sorry, this one here, we'll reverse it, it was a rushed thing, and I'm like looking through it, and I'm like, this is missing, this is missing, this is missing, this is missing. So I circled it and I wrote it in, and I said, this is all missing, and I sent it back, and it took forever to get it all fixed. So this one and this one, we didn't leave. Well,
yeah, that's an excellent idea.
This one was actually a Zoom. And also I want to say this on the Zoom, if we were going to have to do a online rather than in person meeting this time, I had been very specific when we requested the times, gave them the times for which we were all available. Since Allie has a co-guardian, we needed to make sure we both could be there. Was I want all cameras on
at all times,
and I want everything unmuted, because I want to be able to hear everything and see everything going on, because we had an IEP meeting where the cameras weren't on and they were muted, and I knew they were in the same room, and so I had an issue with that.
Yeah, so I understand what that issue is, but in case somebody can't connect the dots, explain what that made you think might be happening.
There's communication going on that I'm not a part of. And if this is a meeting that we're all supposed to be a part of, then we should all be able to hear the communication as if we were in person.
Right. And yes, when you're in person, on occasion, a side conversation does happen. Somebody says, whatever, did you know this, or whatever they say, but it's usually just maybe a one or two thing, but it's obvious that it's happening because the rest of you see those two people having that conversation, and you have the choice then to continue with what the rest of the people are having a discussion about, or to stop and listen to the two of them. But you don't have that option when it's a virtual meeting and they turn the cameras off and they turn the microphones off. And it becomes a trust issue. I've had this happen multiple times all across the country. And many, many times it's blamed on the computers, because too many computers close together starts making feedback. And so then the audio gets wonky. And there's got to be something.
So what you do is you have, and you can suggest this as well, is okay, you have a microphone in the center that picks up everybody that's connected to a central computer, and everybody else keeps their cameras on, but they mute themselves so that they're picked up by that microphone. That's literally how it's done. It's simple.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah. And I think I have attended 1 or 2 meetings. It's weird when that happens, though, I think, when I've been in those meetings, because you see somebody's lips moving, but it takes a little bit longer for the sound to catch up.
Yeah. And or you have everyone, but I mean, that's the simplest way, is you have a conference microphone set up in the center of the table.
Yeah.
And it's connected to a person's computer, probably the one that's running the meeting, and then everyone else keeps their cameras on, but they keep their audio muted.
Hey, Alex, we are wrapping up. I'm glad you joined us, but you're going to have to watch it, most of it in the replay, because we're getting ready to wrap up. But yeah, that's a good idea, and I bet that's something that many schools don't know about, because a lot of people, okay, you're frowning at me, but I mean, you have to remember what you do, what you volunteered to do, what you just said.
But it was prior to that.
But the thing is, in a lot of schools, the technology people are not involved in these meetings. So, and even some of the technology, I remember the person who was the technology coordinator at one of the schools where I worked, and bless her heart, I mean, she learned all kinds of stuff, but she was not a person from the world of informational technology. That wasn't what she went to school for. That wasn't something that she knew a lot about. She put out fires constantly, and she learned stuff on the go. So if there are other people like that are in that role in other school districts.
Okay, I get it. Grace. Got it.
There's all kinds of tech things that that I don't know.
I don't know everything.
Well, no, but you're kind of here and I'm here. And, teachers, a lot of teachers are very scared of technology. So depending on who is actually, and psychologists, I don't know what their backgrounds are.
I didn't know about Zoom until this thingy doodle happened.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's something that could be suggested to school districts ahead of time. Like, hey, if there's going to be a bunch of you in the same room and I want the microphones and the cameras on at all time, please figure out a way for that to happen without any feedback from audio. Here's a suggestion that I have.
Okay. But ours is in person, so I don't have to worry about it. It's
true. All right. But yes, now we really do need to wrap up. So,
but there is hope, and it's not all about fighting Goliath, because in reality, you're all on the same team.
You are all on the same team, and you all have the same goal. And even if you have an IEP meeting until the very last day of school that child is in school, you still have time. All right. See you all next week. No, we won't. That's the day after Thanksgiving. Are you okay taking off next Friday?
Sure.
Okay. If not, maybe you'll see Fran and not me. Stay tuned. We'll find out. Have a good Thanksgiving, everybody. Bye-bye.